The views expressed on this program are those of the producers and individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Sun Prairie Media Center staff, its video service providers, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
We're all familiar with the three whats: what it is, what it can do for me, and what does it cost. Tyler Rickenaugh, Country Financial, can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help protect what's most important to you, all at a price you can afford. So while you're juggling work and kids while trying to keep an eye on your financial future, Tyler Rickenaugh, Country Financial, will make sure they are the first ones there when you need them most.
The kids are back to school, and your schedule is busier than ever. From daycare pickup, doctor's appointments, sports, and college tuition, a parent's signature is a powerful thing. Have you ever stopped to think, what would happen if you weren't able to provide one? With thoughtful estate planning, you can make sure that your child's health and education needs are met in the event of your absence due to a temporary incapacity or even death. The estate planning team at Hurley Burrish is here to help.
Fostering deeper relationships, influencing behavior change, developing resilience. You're about to start winning. Here is your host, Christine Bright.
Welcome to Parenting Game. I am so glad you are here. When our kids hit the teen years, we start to panic. We often wonder, have we done enough to prepare them for their adulthood? My guest today is Will Kubicek. He is co-founder of 6 Summers, and he's going to share with us some great framework and ideas on how to make sure we are equipping our teens. Will, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Christine.
So I initially got to meet your dad. He was speaking here in the Madison area. And he is a very proud dad of all his children. So the conversation quickly turned to you and your siblings. And he shared with me what you were doing and that this you helped develop this 6 Summers program because you actually lived this out with your dad. So people, may be wondering, because you're young and you don't have kiddos left, what advice can you offer them? And as I mentioned, is you lived out this 6 Summers, so you can speak very effectively on how it helped you and how it propelled you. So how did this start developing? How did you and your dad start living out the 6 Summers?
Yeah. So it really all started with my dad. He was a busy guy, but also a great dad, but was gone all the time, but also would bring work home. So this is whenever I was about 10 years old, and he would call it like stiff arming. I'm dribbling the basketball. He's on the phone like, no, not yet. And that's all I really knew. So it didn't have a big effect on me until I saw the opposite of that. And so really what happened was my mom came to my dad and said, hey, where are you when you're with us? It's like, you're not here. But so that really helped him flip a switch, and he decided to become intentional. And so whenever I was about 10 years old, my older sister was 12, my younger sister was 8. He really dove into looking at what it looks like to be intentional with us. So what that truly is learning to know who we are rather than who he wants us to be, based on our nature and nurture and choices. That's who we truly become. And this 6 Summers journey was happening really outside of my knowledge until I was 16. But it was a kind of a loose game plan by him to really make the most of that time he had left for us. And it influenced my life because he really began to learn who I was and my interests, my desires, who I was created to be, and fueled that. So he was really for me, and rather than being accidental and letting us just grow up, he decided to really dive in and invest in our future at a young age. So
And that's a really important piece to note. I think a lot of times, I'm very open about my story that, I had a big aha. I was seeing some undesirable behavior in my child, and I learned that he was learning it from me. And part of what makes this so precious with the 6 summers, it was your dad, being made aware of his behavior and then choosing to change it and to become intentional with what he was doing. How long has it been since you've created the initial 6 summers program?
Yeah, so my 6 summers probably started whenever I was about 10, little more than 6 summers, but the idea is it's for 12 to 18 or 12 to 13 to 18 years. So those 6 summers, those teen years, kind of those monumental foundational years up until your launch into life, into college, into whatever's next. And for me, my last summer, if you will, was whenever I was 18. So that was about 5 years ago. And whenever I was 16 years old, that's whenever I really realized, okay, this is what we're doing. We had an apprenticeship track, like, hey, these are your final years. Let's make the most of it. What are the meals you need to cook? What are the experiences you need to share with your family, and who are the people you need to meet? And so it was really a loose process and resurfaced whenever I was finishing up college by a few other dads that wanted us to lead their sons through it.
So what were your initial thoughts? Your dad decided to become intentional and, was presenting you all these ideas. How did you take them at first?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was excited. Whenever if your dad's gone a lot or you experience that, kids speak in time. So even if he was taking me to work or going on a business trip with him, or even just throwing the football in the backyard, I loved it. So there were definitely times where I wasn't all for it. Growing up, I was kind of the guinea pig for a lot of his leadership resources that are used in the business world. And obviously, as you're growing up in your teen years, you're going to be stubborn. But the fruits of that compounded as I left the house, and I was very thankful for the process.
So share with us, you said that you were resistant, typical teens, right? And you're learning, you're learning to push back, you're learning to define yourself. Can you share some of the stories of where your dad suggested what was going to happen and you pushed back on it?
Well, I think it really starts with the. I mean, to go back to that, I don't think there was a time where I was truly rebellious or resistant towards them, because of the framework and the process of dads becoming the healthiest versions of themselves and then overflowing to their spouse if they're in the picture, and then their kids. And so he learned to speak my language. So based on my personality, based on the 5 voices, which is a framework we use. And so there was a lot of resistance just on communication, expectations. I am very present-minded. He's future-minded. So I think there was a lot of bumping heads, and nothing to where it was truly rebellious, because I knew he was for me no matter what. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big thing in intentionality, is knowing your kids, not trying to force things on them, but understanding who they actually are and learning how to communicate their language. Because that's really what it is. The personalities are languages. And once you can speak those, you can get along with just about anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So share a little bit, touch on some of the points that were most significant for you that you learned through the 6 summers.
Yeah.
That you are really seeing benefit you now as you're, building your life, your career, your family.
Yeah, I would say a huge one that just popped in my head would be, having those other relationships, those mentors, really surrounding yourself with the right people that are going to support you and lift you up, and really spending that time with your family. And I always learned through experiences, and all of these different tools that are implemented within Six Summers are like a mirror, and they allow you to kind of get healthy in your own way, and then compound that to those and multiply it to those around you. And so I would say, just in my friendships and talking to adults, a lot of people, even in college, have a hard time doing that, which sounds funny, but it's true. And really figuring out who I was on my own, outside of my parents, but having those resources and that support that allowed me to take risks, but also foster beautiful relationships.
So part of this, process with the 6 summers, there is a big focus on entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And part of going through that 6 summers is the goal is for the child to start developing an entrepreneurial idea. Mm-hmm. And for you approached your dad and said, hey, what about this? What about what we're doing? Mm-hmm. Share how this went from, hey, Dad, to now this is a successful business. You're helping so many dads and families everywhere. Share that journey.
Yeah. So really, where it started was from a young age, I was playing the process of elimination. What do I want to do? How do where do I fit in this world? And the process within 6 summers that if you become a part, this is what you'll do with your kids at the age of 15, is actually we help you and them start a business. So I detailed cars, all American auto detailing. And my younger sister, she sold some cards on Etsy, and my older sister did media production. And so it's a fun resource that really allows the world that we live in to come in, and you get to discover your interests and things at a young age. And so going on to where 6 summers came from, it was actually I had a job lined up coming out of college, and a couple of dads came to us and asked if we could do what we did with their sons. And so it wasn't called 6 summers then. It wasn't really even a specific track. It was just something that we had done. And my dad had talked about it to a lot of other people. And so we started developing a track. So using these resources that are used by over 10,000 dads in the business world, and Google, the Air Force, Microsoft, all over the place, that work to know yourself and truly lead yourself. And the idea was, how do we partner with dads that may not know what to do or how to do it, and help them become the healthiest version of themselves? And so my dream was to always own a retreat center, like I said, learning through experiences and having fun along the way. And also the purpose of raising up bold leaders, sons and daughters of amazing fathers in this next generation, was something that just lit a fire down in my soul. And so the 6 summers process really started as we took trips with these groups of dads, and then it led to this platform that we wanted to make accessible for everybody, so that we can have a bigger impact on fathers, and then ultimately the next generation as we move forward.
That is so great. Now, you are co-founder with your dad of 6 summers. Share a little bit, how is it working shoulder to shoulder with your dad?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a learning opportunity for sure. I never thought until my senior year of college, really the end of that, I never thought I would be working with him on a day-to-day basis. But if I were to remove 6 summers from that, we would not work well together. We are complete opposites personality-wise. If you do the 5 voices within 6 summers, I'm a guardian. He's a connector. Like I said earlier, he's a future thinker. I'm a more present thinker. And he gets me. He understands how I operate. I understand how he communicates and operates. And his connectorship and my guardianship really work together well. And we make a really good team. So Something like my mom and I, we mesh so well because we're pretty much the same, but it's taken a little bit more for me to understand how to work well with him and vice versa. But, we've been doing this for 6+ years and we're best friends. So I wouldn't have asked it to be any other way.
I'm a big fan of Five Voices. I'm certified. I'm a creative connector.
All right.
It was an emotional time for me when I went through that, of realizing who I was, and so much of who I was had been squelched growing up. And now I see it as my superpowers. So big fan of the Five Voices. And that,
Yes,
and that
me
is
too.
so important, where we assume as parents that our kids are just like us, and they're not. So, kudos for you and your dad to take that time to really understand each other. Okay, so 6 Summers, what is it? The website is beautiful. It's a beautiful platform. First, walk us through what happened. So a dad is like, okay, 6 summers, I got a teenager, I don't want to mess this up. Just tell us when they go to that website, what's all going to happen and what they can expect.
Yeah, for sure. So on the website, it gives you a really kind of walked through description of what it looks like to be a part of 6 Summers. And the goal is to get you as a father to be the healthiest version of yourself. So mentally, spiritually, and physically, you're going to jump into this route after you sign up for an account that's called Base Camp. And so if you think of trudging up a mountain, there's always a base camp where you prepare. And so it's the learning and then the doing. And so the learning is a 15-part video series with workbooks for you, 5 for you as a father. And then that goes through your personality, how you communicate, knowing, really becoming self-aware, and then diving in with your spouse if they're in the picture. And doing a similar thing like parenting style, understanding how you guys operate together and communicate to your children, and what it's truly like to be on the other side of you. And then you go through it with each of your kids. And so that's like doing your timeline, again, understanding your personality, and really diving in deep into what does it look like for us to be intentional in these years you have left, whether it's, they're 12 to 13 or whether they're 15 or even 17 about to leave. It's never too late to become intentional. And I think a big thing is, there's a lot of father guilt, a father hurt. And if you live in that, nothing's going to get better. And so it's really becoming intentional, which is not easy. But we want to partner with dads and moms in this journey to become intentional with their kids.
Yeah, one quick thing that I'd like to say about when I went into that is this is not about pointing out all your bad parenting is, the stuff you're doing wrong. The process is very encouraging, and it's about learning to understand. And that's the one thing that I really liked when I started looking at what you guys do.
That's so true. It's truly to know yourself and then lead yourself. And so after that base camp learning, then you go and build your summer. And so we're in a shift right now, moving to these badges where it's different skills and experiences and conversations, but also understanding culture and relationship and how to manage technology, but also have an amazing time along the way.
So we go to base camp, they're learning new things. When they get done with that initial, learning myself, leading myself, what resources do you have now for them to dig in and do the work with their kiddo?
Yeah, so that base camp would be more of the intensive deep dive, and that's everywhere from 2 weeks to multiple month process. And allowing you to really step in and lead that as a dad. So they're all videos. You can watch them with your kids or go and lead the conversation with yourself. And then you would be pumped out into the main platform where you design your summer. And so the summer's really the whole year, but it's like, hey, pick a few things. This is what I want to do. It's fully custom. We also have recommendations of what to do and how to do it. And then either whether you're doing this by yourself or with a group of dads, then you can design a trip, whether that's with your family, whether you're going camping in your backyard, or coming on one of our adventure trips.
Yeah, you shared with me that you're starting to plan those where people can sign up, and you and your dad, I'm assuming, will be involved.
Yes,
yeah. In those
so
trips.
We have about 6 other ambassadors that are intentional dads, but also some crazy adventurers that take part in those as well.
That is so great. So can you share a couple, as you and your dad were doing 6 summers before it became the thing. Can you share a couple of the adventures that you and your dad had together?
Yeah, so I mean, it really started basic. Like I said, kids speak in time, and really understanding what they like to do. So we were living in Georgia at the time, and we would put up a tent in our backyard and build a fire and go on hikes in our woods in our backyard. And then he would take us on business trips. So it was I went to Yellowstone with him as he was kind of doing his work, but he included me in that. And then a couple others were we went to Alaska on my last trip with my grandpa and had this kind of launching trip. And so we kind of plan these trips to be monumental and almost rites of passage as you launch into this new stage of life. So you don't have to do a trip every year, but it's encouraged to do an experience, kind of disconnect, allow for that opening up and diving deep with your kids. And that's sons and daughters. So both my sisters took part in this as well.
So it feels like it's more for dads and sons, but that's not the case. This is for dads and their kids, correct?
That's right. It's for dads, and they can use it however they want.
Okay. And then how is, mom brought, if mom's in the picture, how does mom join in with these 6 summers?
For sure. Yeah. So moms are just as big of a part of this. We focused on the dads as that's kind of where our heart is. There's a lot of issues with men and leadership in today's age, and so it's partnering with the dads to lead well. And if you're married, your wife is just as much of a leader as you, and so they're included in this process. And it's not just for the dads, but that's who we invest in, and then they can choose how they lead their spouses and their kids.
That is so great. I 100% agree with that. There's lots of resources out there for the moms. Moms tend to go after that and seek that out a little easier than dads do.
That's very true.
And having the structure that you have and the language that you use, I know is just so appealing to men because they want to lead and be adventurous. And this really makes it exciting and feeds into what they're going to lean into. Okay, it sounds expensive. Some of our viewers may be thinking, I don't have the money to go on a trip to Alaska. At the most, I could maybe do the tent, and the fire. What are some of the costs involved? And is it still effective even if you are just a little bit more simplistic in what those experiences and adventures look like?
Yeah, no, totally. So we're actually in the process of transitioning to a new model where it's $99 a year for all self-paced access to the 6 Summers platform. And that gives you base camp, the ability to design your entire year with all of those experiences, skills, conversations, and badges for your sons, daughters, and yourself as a father, including your spouse. And so that is that $99. And then we have a $350 option that is for if you want to be guided through it. So we are kind of doing a mentorship process for dads. And it's on an annual basis because we really want dads to commit to it and dive in deep. And then right now, trips are kind of extra. And so that it's custom right now to where if you want us to plan your trip, that will be like we'll jump on a meeting and go through it. But we have different badges and resources for you to do your own trip. So whether that is camping in the backyard or even doing a normal family vacation that you may do, it's everything you need to do, from a celebration dinner to intentional transit, to not make it something that's just a vacation, but actually come home changed for the better. And so I would encourage dads that may not have the ability to take part in 6 summers or even do the 99 option. There's plenty of resources for you to take charge without the extreme trips or anything. So
That is so great. I love how you have set it up that anybody can start being intentional during these years. This is such great information. I know it's going to be helpful to so many dads out there. So before we go, what is the website?
the website is 6summers.com.
Thank you so much, Will. I appreciate you coming on and sharing. And I thank you for tuning into the Parenting Game.
We're all familiar with the 3 whats: what it is, what it can do for me, and what does it cost. Tyler Rickenaugh, Country Financial, can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help protect what's most important to you, all at a price you can afford. So while you're juggling work and kids while trying to keep an eye on your financial future, Tyler Rickenaugh, Country Financial, will make sure they are the first ones there when you need them most.
The kids are back to school, and your schedule is busier than ever. From daycare pickup, doctor's appointments, sports, and college tuition, a parent's signature is a powerful thing. Have you ever stopped to think, what would happen if you weren't able to provide one? With thoughtful estate planning, you can make sure that your child's health and education needs are met in the event of your absence due to a temporary incapacity or even death. The estate planning team at Hurley Burrish is here to help.
Thank you for watching The Parenting Game. All episodes of The Parenting Game are available on demand at sunprairiemediacenter.com.